Hey Alan, this is Joel. It was nice to see you the other night for a few minutes anyway. And I wanted to let you see how things look similar to the tour players and how they look different for you. Alright. Remember, I like to say that all the tour players swing differently, but in certain basic ways, they all swing the same. And so one of the first things, remember, that we noticed here is that almost their whole body's on this side of this line coming up from the ball, whereas you have maybe about 60% of your body in front of that line as you set up to it there, Alan. So that's going to create some differences. So the tour players go to their right with their head and upper body, their hands stop above and to the right of their head, and this right leg will not have moved away from that right line, that yellow line, and their back will be leaned away from the target. So there's the top of your backswing. See, your head's gone to the right a little bit, your hands have stopped above and to the right of your head, your right leg stayed inside that line pretty well, so all those things are pretty similar to the tour players, but it's a little different here the way your back is kind of straight up and down. Then on the downswing, the tour players, their head gets back into the circle because they're shifting their weight back onto their front foot, and still most of their body will be on the left side of this yellow line coming up from the ball as we look at it, so they're behind the ball real well. But then when you get back to impact there, Alan, you see you have about 80% of your body in front of the ball, so that's kind of different than the tour players. And then also, see your glove hand, your left hand, is still visible above your right hand at that point, whereas for the tour players, that right hand would have covered over that left hand. And you're not going to have as much extension in your arms as what we see for the tour players, and there's not as much rehinge at that point in the follow-through as we're seeing with the tour players. So those things are definitely a little different. This is similar here when they finish their heads in front of the circle on top of their left foot, nothing but their right foot and right calf off this nice straight line in the body, and that's where you are too. And again, I want you to appreciate that the things I'm showing you here are common to all the good players. See the difference there in your hands and arms at that point compared to the tour players. And then from this down the line angle, the main thing, again, that's the same for all the tour players, is that about halfway into their downswing, 2/3 of the way in their downswing, the club head gets right back on that original shaft plane line, follows it into the ball, then it goes above that line after impact through the top of their left shoulder, parallel that plane line in their follow through. And again, you will not see that vary among the tour players. And what we saw for you there, Alan, a couple of things. See, you're actually underneath that line a little bit. Is a little bit hard to see because of the dusk, and so that was a little different there, man, that you're a little more underneath that line than what we'd see for the tour players. So you're definitely not over the top of it. And then it's going to be a little different here that when your shaft shows up, see how their shaft is flattened out more at that point in their follow through, but yours is kind of more vertical. in your efforts to try and keep it going to the left like we saw on the launch monitor. But you will not see that kind of vertical shaft at that point in the follow-through for the tour players. And then also is a little different here where it impacts, so you're very straight up and down, whereas they would tend to still have their posture at impact. And then remember, we saw from the K-Vest, you'll be getting that report, the swing summary from the K-Vest as well as the graphs, that you actually had more turn in your backswing than they would tend to have. You see how your right leg has come off that line? So your right leg is kind of straightened up. That makes it easy to make too big of a hip turn into your backswing. Whereas the tour players would keep that right knee more braced, not have as much flex as what, or they're having more flex than what we're seeing for you there, Alan. So that's just a little summary there, man, to get us started. So that way when we do get together in the next few days, we'll be able to jump right into altering some things around. And again, you'll get that report, the swing summary and the graphs from the K-Vest, things we saw. And you got the report from the drives on 18 at Pebble Beach from the launch monitor also in your email the last couple days. Thanks so much, Alan. We'll be seeing you soon.